of all, the bill seeks to reduce the number of members of parliament from 416 MPs to 147 MPs, and they're also seeking to increase the shareable allocation to counties from the current 15% to 35%, and also maintaining the 1,435 wards as the unit or the primary unit of development instead of the constituency development fund. And one of the things that the party has talked about today is that the bill is now no longer about the political party as Third Way Alliance. They are saying now that the bill is about the people, and they are calling on all the members of the county assembly to support the bill, because the bill right now has to be supported by at least 24 county assemblies for it to be able to get the green light to move to the both houses of the National Assembly and the Senate, where the two houses will either approve it or not. And if the bill if the bill is able to get majority members of the two houses, it will be able to go to move to president, where it will be able to secure presidential assent to become law. And therefore, the Third Way Alliance is really hoping that this is going to happen, because they're saying the bill is going to benefit the people of Kenya, because their aim is to cut the cost of governance in the country and be able to save a lot of money, because they are saying the bill comes with 3.78 trillion shillings, and this is the amount they are saying the bill is going to enable Kenya as a country save, and also to be able to channel that amount of money to other activities in the country, especially activities to do with socio-economic development in the country. And also the country will be able to use such amount of money to cater for the CBAs, the civil servants, or the people who are demanding for fair remuneration in the country. And that is what is going to really benefit Kenyans, according to Third Way Alliance. Also, regarding the issue of attack yesterday, they've termed the attack as a move or a signal that there is somebody somewhere who is not happy about the bill and is basically trying to intimidate them so that they can slow down. But they are saying whether they kill people or whether they intimidate them, they are not going to slow down on this Punguza Mizigo initiative, and they are going to follow it to the end. Remember, there are a number of questions that came up, and you remember there are people who are asking, how will he manage to get the numbers, especially in the National Assembly, where they are trying to reduce the number of members of parliament. And Ekuru argues that some of the members of parliament are really pro this bill, and they are very optimistic that it is going to see the light of the day at the end of the day. And he has also argued that this bill doesn't require, referendum questions or the referendum law to be in place for it to be able to happen. He's saying they have reduced a number of issues, about 6 issues, into a new constitution that will be brought forward for the Kenyans to either say yes or no to it. This is something that we are going to continue looking into how it's going to transpire from today moving forward. But for now, my name is Vincent Odur, and I'm taking you back to studio.
Yes, Vincent Odur coming to us live from the Third Way Alliance Party Kenya headquarters, where they just held a press conference to address an array of issues, including the upcoming referendum process that they say and has been certified by the REBC, that they have been able to garner all or the 1 million+ signatures that they needed to actually make this a reality. But also they were looking into the attack they say was done in their offices last night, saying this is closely related to the fact that they're pushing for the referendum. Well, more details coming from Vincent Odur in our subsequent bulletins. For now, the petition filed by county governors seeking an advisory opinion of the Supreme Court over the division of revenue bill will be heard on Tuesday. Chief Justice David Maraga has asked the parties in the case to serve each other and file their responses by Monday, 4 p.m. Governors had on Monday moved to the Supreme Court after the National Assembly slashed their allocation to counties from 335 billion shillings to 310 billion. The county bosses have also rejected another offer of 316 billion shillings proposed by the National Assembly in the new division of revenue bill published last Wednesday. Governors want the court to give direction on the matter and compel the National Assembly to consult with the Senate in debating and approving the bill, whose delay risks crippling operations in counties. Maraga said that given the urgency and importance of the matter, it should be heard expeditiously.
On Tuesday, 23rd July, at 9 a.m. for directions as to when it will be heard. Be ready to be heard even the following day.
Now, reporter Silas Apollo has been following this particular story. He now joins us. Silas, what is the mood going into the courts today?
Yes, Gladys. First of all, this is not a new thing that is happening in counties over the Division of Revenue Bill. You remember about 5 years ago, senators then, of course, moved to the Supreme Court alongside governor seeking an advisory opinion over the role of the Senate and the National Assembly in debating bills involving counties and also in debating matters of financing counties and all that, and even laws governing counties. And the Supreme Court then gave an advisory opinion. And one of the issues that was raised, the most important issue that was raised, that the Senate, the current Senate is actually pegging its argument on, even governors, is that the National Assembly should be including Senate in debating bills and laws that pertain to the county governments. And so Senate, the current Senate argues that that advisory opinion that was issued then about 5 years ago has not been looked into by the National Assembly, and so they want that to be taken into consideration. But according to members of the National Assembly, that is not something that is quite of an issue to them. You remember there's been also a bit of back and forth in terms of which is the upper house and which is the lower house. The senators argue, of course, that the responsibilities and the powers of the Senate were reduced a bit when the Constitution was drafted. So governors have moved to court. They went to court on Monday, and the argument and the stalemate is over the Division of Revenue Bill. The argument by the governors is that the Commission on Revenue Allocation had proposed about 335 billion shillings, which is supposed to be sent to counties. That money has not been sent to counties. Instead, the National Assembly reduced that figure to about 310 billion shillings, which governors rejected. And the National Assembly went ahead and revised the figures to about 316 billion shillings, which is about 6 billion shillings increment into the original figure. Governors rejected that again. They're saying there's ill faith and there's a lack of goodwill from the National Assembly. Senators, on the other hand, of course, also moved to court. That was on Thursday, yesterday. And one of the reasons why they moved to court is because they want the courts to interpret in terms of how do the two houses of parliament navigate and debate issues. One of the arguments by the Senate is that there are about 26 bills that have been passed by the National Assembly which touch on counties and which should have involved the Senate, but the Senate has not been involved. So they want the courts to give an order and to give a direction on those issues. And one of the other arguments is also the Division of Revenue Bill. Senators are saying that they're going to revise the figures to about 335 billion shillings, which is what the Commission on Revenue Allocation had provided for, but that has not been the case so far. So it's a tussle between the National Assembly and the Senate, of course, pitting governors. Governors argue that the failure to pass the Division of Revenue Bill, of course, which is supposed to go into become the Division of Revenue Act, has crippled operations in counties. Counties cannot be able to do whatever they're supposed to. Even yesterday, the arguments by the senators, most of them were lawyers, were arguing that most of the county assemblies have not been able to pass their budgets because of the stalemate. It's an argument that is has dragged in a lot of people. Of course, it also points to the Constitution and also how the Constitution is being implemented going forward. So the Chief Justice David Maraga said that the matter is of national importance. It needs to be heard as soon as possible. So that is going to happen on Monday, with both parties are supposed to file their responses and serve each other. And of course, on Tuesday, they'll be moving to court for a determination on whether the matter should be heard. The Chief Justice say it can be heard as fast as possible, which means it can even be heard on Wednesday, because currently issues have not been resolved. So it's something we'll be following up just to keep you updated. But it's an issue that I think also draws us back to the implementation of the Constitution and how the Constitution has been implemented. And maybe the question that now is it time that we audited how our Constitution is implemented? That's a question that we'll be following up just to see and give an answer going forward. Back to you, Gladys.
Silas Apollo giving us a background of the petition filed by county governors seeking an advisory opinion of the Supreme Court over the Division of Revenue Bill, which will be heard coming Tuesday. Of course, we'll keep an eye on the same and keep you updated. Now, Kenyans seeking to be compensated for land that they are surrendering for infrastructure are being or becoming unreasonable. Now, this is according to the High Representative for Infrastructure Development in Africa, Raila Odinga, who has called the national and county governments to address matters of land compensation for development projects. Odinga says the system of compensation in Kenya is very expensive, thereby leading to stalled projects.
As the country moves towards achieving the government's Big Four agenda, some Kenyans have received the short end of the stick of a compensation for development projects. Some Kenyans claim they have not received full compensation as some of their houses were demolished and businesses forced to shut down to pave way for transport networks. Speaking during the commissioning of 113 housing units in Ruaraka, Odinga claimed that the compensation process in Kenya was far above its neighboring countries.
The high cost of land in this country makes it very difficult to conduct development. You want to do infrastructure. You want to do a road. For example, you want to expand the highway from the airport to Rironi. And they want you to pay 16 billion shillings for land compensation. And where are you going to get the money to do that road?
Kenyans have been called upon to be realistic on their compensation demands.
The amount of money they're demanding for land compensation for a project of about 10 kilometers is 6-point-something billion shillings. The road itself is supposed to cost only 2-point-something billion. They will come and tell you, oh, this road is going to pass here. You must compensate me for the banana trees here. Compensate me for a beehive I put on top of the tree.
He also noted that over 2 million Kenyans lack decent housing, and as the government aims to achieve affordable housing for its citizens, he encouraged public-private partnership to achieve the development projects. The government insists that it is on the path to ensuring Kenyans get affordable housing with new incentives in place.
Affordable housing relief is the most aggressive relief ever done in this country. It is 15% of your gross, subject to a maximum of 9,000. So that is an amount that you actually deduct from the tax expense, not taxable income. That affordable housing relief is government giving back money to you so that you can save it towards your home.
The debate on the housing agenda is yet to rest, with concerns that it will impose a burden that some may not be willing to bear. Helen Aura, NTV.
Education matters, and West Pokot Governor Professor John Lonyangapuo has faulted the Ministry of Education for what he says is forcing the new competency-based curriculum on students and teachers without adequately investing in schools and students. The outspoken governor, who advocates for rethinking the whole idea, also wants the government to invest on individual learners if the curriculum has to succeed. He has also castigated the education stakeholders for threatening those against the rash implementation and says there must be a form of exam involved in an education process. Kapenguria legislator Samuel Moroto also faulted the manner in which the ministry has been implementing the new curriculum. He says grade 3 pupils are not in a position to be tested and advocates for a level playing field before pupils' performance can be measured. The leaders were speaking when they joined the ongoing County Education Quality Dialogue Forum that began on Monday.
Members of Parliament must buy that idea totally. MCS must be in unison and they must approve in the assemblies so that we are producing a product that doesn't interfere. National government, some in education may be purporting to say that the national education is not devolved for primary, secondary. I'm sorry to tell you, whether you like it or not, it's like it's devolved. These are the children and the parents that we serve as counties. And so you cannot say that we should not be concerned. We must be concerned.
Unasikia tu mwezi wa 9 class 3 anaitwa primary 3 ati wanafanya mtihani kwa sawa. Junior hapa karibu 3/4 in West Pokot na Turkana na kila mahali, especially asal areas. Watoto wanasoma chini ya miti. Hata hawana ile tablets mlivyowapatia. Mtaenda kwa assess nini? Hawana walimu. Hata Kiingereza kuongea hakuna. Bado naongea Kipokoti yao. Wengine naongea Kiluya yake. Kwa sababu hakuna mwalimu mwenye amekuja kufunza pale. Watapata mwalimu mmoja ama wawili ama watatu class 1 mpaka 8.
To Kajiado County, and various leaders in the county have expressed their disappointment in the government and the Teacher Service Commission for neglecting them. Now, both county and teachers union officials claim that the neglect has lowered the county's standards of education. Speaking at the Education Day at Linti Primary School in Kajiado Central Sub-County, the education stakeholders raised the red flag on the status of education in the county.
One of the government's key projects, the tablets to primary schools, is yet to be felt in Kajiado.
Katika Kajiado County, kuna zaidi ya shule 90 hawajaiona tablets.
In addition to the digital challenge in the county schools, there also sits a burden of insufficient infrastructure, which parents say will ensure more pupils stay in schools in a bid to promote formal education.
Sisi kama wasasi wa Lindi tunataka dom sababu watoto wetu wanalalaga chini hapa.
The Kenya National Union of Teachers says that education stakeholders had proposed ICT labs instead of the laptops, but they were ignored. He slammed TSC for oppressing teachers in Kajiado County, worsening the already wanting education levels.
Mwajiri leo ameenda kotini kuapili. Na tunashangaa mwajiri ambaye kazi yake ni kunyanyasa walimu.
Kajiado Deputy Governor Martin Mushisho took issue with teachers' promotion in Kajiado, urging the commission to be fair to the tutors in the county and accord them similar treatment to other teachers nationally. He cautioned TSC on teachers' delocalization, saying most teachers have been displaced, greatly affecting levels of education in Kajiado.
Walimu wa Kajiado kupromotiwa lazima wapromotiwe. Na si kwamba muwawekee vikwazo vya promotion ilhali wa mahali zingine mnatengenezea njia ya promotion kirahisi, kwani hawa wametoka kwa mwezi.
Kajiado's rural schools are said to be performing dismally in national exams compared to urban schools. Nayoma Sampao, NTV.
Now, some farmers from the North Rift have asked the government to fast purchase maize from the strategic grain reserves before going the importation route. The farmers drawn from Nandi, Uasin Gishu and Trans Nzoia, which are largely grain-growing counties, held a one-day consultative meeting in Eldoret town with some of the leaders and representatives from the SFR led by Chairman Noah Wekesa. They say their crops should be ready in the next 2 or so months, pleading with the government to import maize on a low scale or abandon the importation plants altogether. The farmers asked the government to increase the buying price from last season's 2,500 shillings per 90-kilogram bag to over 3,000 shillings. On its part, the SFR maintains the government should first take stock of all the maize in the country and purchase it to stabilize the price of maize meal.
Kufikia Septemba, wakulima wengi watakuwa wameanza kuvuna mahindi, na hata wengine kwa area zingine ambazo zina joto kabisa kama huko Bomet na huko Bungoma, mwisho mwezi ya 8 hapo wakulima wa mbele sana watakuwa wameanza kuvuna mahindi na kuleta kwa Serious Produce Board. Kwa hivyo importation lazima ilingane na upungufu wa mahindi hapa Kenya.
Uchungu yangu kubwa ni kwa SFR wamepoteza pesa, ama pesa ilitolewa bila idhini yao, ile 1.8 billion kutoka kwa account, na ingekuwa hao wenyewe ndio wananini wangetake responsibility, lakini pesa account inaraniwa na ministry, na CS jana waziri alituambia walitoa 1.8 billion. Sasa tunataka kujua ni shilingi ngapi nyingine wametoa, na hiyo pesa president mwenyewe alikuwa amesema iziguzwe kwa sababu sheria inasema pesa ya mahindi ya kulima haiwezi kuguzwa.
Patala ya kuimport 2 million bags wachukue kwa kala ama National Cereal and Produce Board ili wa create space ya mwezi wa 10, ili kwa sababu mahindi yetu iko tayari karibu kukua. Tukienda Southern region na huku Western tunaona mahindi in the next 1 month itakuwa tayari, so wangakilia ile mahindi tuko nayo kwa cereal kwa sababu cereal part iko full.
To some politics, the Internally Displaced Persons Initiative has sent a stern warning to the Tanga Tanga and the Kieleweke factions over the rising political temperatures. The initiative says that the heated rhetoric between the two groups is inflammatory and likely to cause tension amongst Kenyans. Speaking in Kitale, the group led by Chairman Raphael Ainer says the members are concerned over divisive politics at play in the public domain that could cause hate and animosity among communities as they do not want to suffer again. They have called on President Uhuru Kenyatta to show leadership and deal with the government officials who are using government resources to do politics. They also called on the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to deal with hate mongers who could polarize the county ahead of 2022 general elections.
Hata miradi ambazo zile programs ambazo serikali inaweka ili kuleta amani katika nchi. Haya mambo ndio yametufanya tumeanza kuona sisi kama tunapelekwa katika mwaka 2007.
The county government of Baringo is looking to wipe out water hyacinth, which has invaded Lake Kapnarok, as it furthers its efforts to protect the ecosystem. The CEC member for Environment, Scholar Kimeli, says the county will partner with the neighboring county, Elgeyo Marakwet, in efforts to salvage the lake. This is the only lake with 300 unique species of white crocodiles in the region. With the weed spreading very fast in freshwater lakes, the county director for Environment said that last year the lake was invaded by the weed at 100% level, but has reduced to 70%. He says the county's team will continue removing it manually in order to reclaim its glory of and boost the economy of the two counties, which has already dropped due to fewer tourists in the area.
Today we came to Lake Kapnarok purposely to do the manual water hyacinth removal, which has really invaded our lake. I want to say last year it was around almost 80% of the lake was invaded by the water hyacinth, but this year it's around 70% or 60%, which I want to say that as a department we will work so hard, and this work we will continue doing it to make sure that this lake will be restored to its initial glory. In this lake we have heard of the white crocodiles which are here in this lake. One of the reasons why we want to manage the water hyacinth is also to save the white crocodiles which are here in the lake.
Kusema ukweli 70% inamaanisha processes mingi ama activities mingi, economic activity imekuwa affected. So kama county tuna target ya kwamba kuna siku tutakuwa tunasema hakuna gugu maji katika Lake Kapnarok. Tuna target ikuwe 100% clean na tumalize gugu maji kwa hii lake.
To Machakos County, a boda rider identified as Samson Mwangat was murdered in cold blood in Machakos town on Wednesday night. Mwangat, who doubled up as a boda rider and a preacher at a church in the town, was brutally strangled and clobbered to death. County Police Boss Farah Mohammed says that the police are now in pursuit of the two suspects.
A solemn cloud greets any visitor that walks into the home of the late Samson Mwangat. Unknown to Samson, his midnight ride to California area in Machakos would be his last. The two passengers who boarded his boda would strangle the unsuspecting rider to the ground and repeatedly smash his head, after which they left him for dead. They then took off with the new motorbike.
Nikajaribu tena, akawa mteja. Tukakaa kidogo, kijana wakaanza kufuatilia. Vile walifuatilia, kaniambia amempata na baba tena hayuko.
His family is now struggling to pick up the pieces following the harrowing experience.
Sijaamini kama hatuna, alikuwa role model, alikuwa anatusaidia kwenye familia, alikuwa anatupatia advice za kujikaza kimaisha.
Samson's fellow boda riders congregated at the Machakos Level 5 hospital morgue, where the deceased's body was taken. The motorbike was found abandoned at Susu Center stage in the town, just meters from the crime scene, as it is believed to have developed mechanical problems. Chairperson of the Machakos Boda Operators Association, Alan Musembi, says that they will not tolerate any more thugs taking the lives of boda operators in the area.
Hapa kwetu Machakos imetukasirisha. Hapa tulipo mlangoni wa mochari hatuna raha kuja kukaa katika milango ya mochari tukiwaangalia wenzetu ambao wameuawa na binadamu wenzao.
The police are pursuing a possible lead using CCTV footage from the Susu Center roundabout. Gena Kirari, NTV.
Away from security matters, the government has been put on the spot over its slow response in undertaking research to improve livestock breeds and crops that can withstand rising temperatures. According to a report by the Kenya Market Trust, a non-government organization, the temperatures in Africa are expected to rise by more than 2 degrees Celsius by the year 2050, putting over 160 people or 160 million people in sub-Saharan Africa at risk of being food insecure. The report indicates that aflatoxin contamination in maize will worsen if dry season rainfall increases.
Now, we shouldn't be just looking at inwards, and I think that's what we've been doing. We've been really looking at our own success that were 30 years ago, but really right now we have to really look outward and learn from those other countries. Your question, what did they do right for them to succeed? I gave an example of Brazil. Carlo, the institution, the way they've organized it, they've organized it in terms of what Brazilians are doing. Yet Brazilians in terms of production is very high. So what makes them to succeed and us not to succeed?
Time for the sporting action. Warothe Kiru is in studio.
Yes, Gladys, it is time to play. A very good afternoon to you. I am Warothe Kiru. The Africa Cup of Nations final is just hours away and the Egyptian capital is stirring with excitement. Senegal, seeking a maiden continental title, will have to overcome 1990 champions Algeria. The Cairo International Stadium will play host to the titanic battle. Ida Waringa reports from a buzzing Cairo.
What started a little less than a month ago here at the Cairo International Stadium is set to culminate on Friday in an Africa Cup of Nations final pitting Senegal versus Algeria. The Cairo International Stadium has hosted some of the biggest games on the continent, and while the 2006 AFCON final that saw Egypt beat Cameroon remains a fond memory, the stadium staff are looking ahead to an epic clash that will be between Senegal and Algeria that has been billed as a clash between the West and North Africans.
Everything was okay for organizing, for the matches, for everything. Cairo Stadium is the main stadium in Egypt. It will be a good final between Algeria and Senegal.
It will be the first time that two local coaches who were previously players with their respective teams will be meeting in a Nations Cup final. Senegal coach Aliou Cissé, then a defensive midfielder, got to the final in 2002, while Algeria's Jamel Belmadi reached the 2004 quarterfinals.
It's a final. So a final, as I said, is a special game. It's not about making a big speech as though we are going to war. No, 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 no. This is football. We remain very calm and focused. We know that we are worth and we have very strong players.
If we want to compare the first match in the group phase and this one, well, it's completely different. During the group phase, we said it wasn't a very important match. It wasn't decisive. This time it is. It is crucial and decisive. It is final. So that's the difference.
The Egyptian capital is awash with excitement, with opinions on the outcome of the game divided right down the middle. Football is the beautiful game that brings us together, and AFCON 2019 has birthed heartwarming stories. One that stands out belongs to a young Egyptian blind volunteer who's a Liverpool diehard who got the chance of a lifetime to interview his football idol Sadio Mane at the start of the tournament. And just under a month later, Mane will play at the AFCON final.
We will commend the African best player.
He will be so happy if Senegal wins tomorrow because Sadio Mane will be able to enter the list of the Ballon d'Or and the African Player of the Year.
The grass is cut to the centimeter and watered to the millimeter. It's game, set, kickoff. Ida Waringa, NTV, Cairo, Egypt.
Now, Africa moves to the beat of music, and the Africa Cup of Nations is no different. Ahead of the AFCON final, fans of Senegal and Algeria are in full voice cheering for their teams. Vuvuzelas, flags and jerseys in the colors of Senegal are said to be selling like hotcakes, while there is dancing in the streets of Dakar as the country gears up for what it hopes will be a maiden AFCON victory. The Teranga Lions, beaten finalists in 2002, face Algeria in the Cairo final tonight. Meanwhile, dozens of Algeria fans flew into Egypt ahead of the final to cheer on the national team, and the fans provided a musical backdrop. The Algerian stars, the
female patient in his clinic.
With the puzzle surrounding the sugar saga yet to be cleared.
How many times were you sexually abused?
Like 3 times.
How was a convicted child molester allowed to set up a children's home in the country?
NTV News. Bold, balanced, authoritative.
Where are we headed as a country?
Every time we make a step forward, we do 2 backwards.
Any fool with huge amounts of money can be president of this country. It is no longer about service.
Why can't we move these people out and find somebody who can make the right decision?
Champions Egypt for a place in the next continental tournament. Kenya will be seeking to achieve a back-to-back AFCON qualification when the qualifiers proper start in November. The first 2 teams in each of the 12 groups will qualify for the finals, except in Group F, where Cameroon automatically qualify as hosts with the highest placed of 3 other teams. The national men's basketball team, the Kenya Morans, take on Democratic Republic of Congo in the opening match of the African Nations Championship, also known as AFROBASKET, which tips off in Bamako, Mali on Friday night. The game, which kicks off at 7 p.m. East Africa time, will see Kenya return to the continental stage after a 3-decade absence, having last featured in 1989. The Morans, who are in Group B, will play Nigeria on Saturday. On the continental stage, coach Cliff Ower, who has made huge changes to the team that won Zone 5, will call on the experience of Zone 5 MVP, Taylor Okari, who plays professionally in Denmark. Across the borders, and England right back Kieran Trippier has said the allure of working with Diego Simeone, who he described as one of the top coaches in the world, was what convinced him to switch from Tottenham Hotspur to Atletico Madrid. Trippier was unveiled a day after completing a deal with...
You're the experts, you can tell me.
We have to change the way we arrive at our leaders. We have to.
Organized crime, terrorism, and corruption, they're really siblings.
We don't need 10 cases. We just need 2 cases done properly, and it will serve a lesson.
Justice can only be found if I prosecute what I have claimed, bring the evidence, and say this man is guilty.
AM Live, every weekday morning on NTV.
Na imekuwa ni ada, desturi na mazoea kwa Wakenya wengi kula, kulala, kuvaa na kupiga gumzo la siasa.
Masuala ya biashara, uvumbuzi, teknolojia na ubunifu. Muhimu ni
hela. Wajua pesa zilivunja milima. Vipi uachwe nyuma na uwezo unao?
Maendeleo ya binadamu au taifa hayawezekani bila afya.
Kwa ajili ya siha yako, tukutane kwa mijadala kuhusu afya bora.
Kama jamii tuna mengi ya kujivunia katika kila nyanja. Maishani kuna mitindo, desturi na hali tofauti za kufaana na kufanana.
Mwisho wa wiki ni mikiki. Iwe viwanjani au majukwaani, burudani halikosekani. Na unapofurahia mikiki, upo udaku sasa. Ilishaeleweka na bado kitaendelea kueleweka.
Everyone has a desire. Some desire and talk.
My name is Morebi Bob. I'm a press technician.
I wanted to be a driver like him.
Kwa mzara iko mzuri, unakula vizuri, unaishi vizuri.
But some desire and make it a reality. Desiring is good, but getting the job done is better.
Sooner or later, utaona tu vijana wakikuja kuomba job.
Kuna miaka kama 6 sijalinda na fanya kazi.
The mortuary has exposed me to the world.
My job on NTV.
This is going to be a long conversation.
The hard thing to understand is why, if the number of deaths is disputed, then the extent of the situation might also actually be disputed. These are not stories that are being told by somebody who's not been on the ground.
I have never known of any single time the Kenyan media and the international media came together to tell a lie.
Hatuna kwanza maji na inasemekana ni handshake.
Kwa hiyo serikali ikisema hakuna mambo ya njaa, hiyo hatuelewi sana.
Wacha watu wa media waendelee kumweka deputy president katika headlines.
Is rooting for.
Well, that's a tricky one, but I'll stick with Senegal. Well, I hope they actually carry the day. But hey, thank you for joining us on this bulletin. A lot more coming your way in our subsequent bulletins. Have a great weekend. My name is Gladys Gachanja.
This is NTV.